Weight of silence. The wind off the Texas plains carried the smell of dust and old rain when Michael Turner woke before sunrise. The house was too quiet again. The kind of quiet that didn't mean peace, but absence, the silence of a woman's voice that would never fill these rooms again. He lay in bed, staring at the ceiling fan as it turned lazily above him, its blades whispering in rhythm with the ache in his chest. 2 years had passed since Anna's death, yet her laughter still lived in the corners of the house, in the shape of a coffee cup she used to hold, in the hymn books on the nightstand, in the rosary she'd left draped over the lamp beside their bed. He had once prayed with that rosary every night. Now it gathered dust. When the grief had been new, Michael thought time would blunt it. But time didn't heal it, only spread the pain thin enough to be invisible. It still sat there, heavy, underneath everything he did. Some days it felt like guilt, for living, for breathing, for eating breakfast when she could not. Other days it was anger at God, at fate, at the silence that followed his prayers. He had stopped going to church months ago. He still drove by St. Joseph's Parish every Sunday on the way to the grocery store, slowing down just enough to glimpse the stained glass windows shining against the sun. But he never turned in. He didn't need sermons about God's mercy. He needed an answer to why mercy had skipped his house. That morning, Michael made black coffee and sat on the back porch. Beyond the fence, the land stretched flat and endless. He remembered when Anna used to sit beside him, praying the rosary as dawn broke, whispering each bead as if she were weaving peace into the day. Peace, he muttered under his breath. You left with it, Anna. A soft rustle interrupted his thought. An envelope lay by the porch steps, white, weathered, edges curled. There was no stamp, no name, only 3 words written in neat cursive. For the restless heart. He frowned. Probably a neighbor's misplaced mail. Still, something about the handwriting, elegant, almost old-fashioned, drew him. He opened it. Inside was a single folded page, thick like parchment. At the top, in blue ink, were the words, "Do not let your heart be locked by worry. Every dawn is a chance to trust again. Mary, Mother of Peace." Michael exhaled slowly. A religious quote from Anna's prayer book, maybe? No. Impossible. Her belongings were all packed away. Someone must be playing a joke. But there was no signature, no address. He folded the letter and slid it into his pocket anyway. That day at the hardware store where he worked part-time, the words kept returning like the hum of distant music. Every dawn is a chance to trust again. Trust? He didn't even know how to speak to God anymore. A week later, he found another envelope in the same spot. This one read, "For the weary soul." He stared at it for a long time before picking it up. Inside, the letter said, "Peace does not come from control, but from surrender. Let God carry what you cannot." Beneath the quote, a single blue bead, a piece of rosary, like one of the decades Anna used to hold. Michael clenched it in his palm until the edges bit into his skin. He didn't know who was leaving them, but something about it, the handwriting, the tone, felt strangely familiar. Not Anna's, but kindred. That night, he sat at his kitchen table, staring at the bead. The house creaked as it cooled, and in that stillness, for the first time in months, he whispered a prayer, awkward, broken, but real. "Lord, if this is you, if you're trying to talk to me through these letters, Then I'm listening. The letters kept coming. One each week. Each one arrived at dawn. Laid gently against the porch rail. No footprints in the dust. No car tracks in the driveway. Sometimes, he'd stay up late hoping to catch the messenger. But every time he blinked, the envelope was there as if the morning itself had delivered it. With every letter, a strange calm began to grow. It didn't erase the pain, but it gave it shape across, not a void. He started to light a candle when he read them, the way Anna used to when she prayed. One Sunday, months after the first letter, Michael finally turned his truck into the church parking lot. The church was fuller than he remembered. Families filled the pews. The choir was singing softly, "Be not afraid." As the incense curled in the sunlight, he felt a weight lift, replaced by something like longing. After Mass, an elderly nun greeted him at the door. Her face was lined, but her eyes gentle, clear as spring water. "It's been a while since we've seen you, Mr. Turner," she said. "Welcome home." He smiled faintly. "Just visiting." She nodded. Even visitors are loved children of God. Before he could reply, she pressed something into his hand, a small card with an image of the Virgin Mary. On the back were printed words, "My son, peace is not the absence of storms, but my presence within them." His breath caught. The handwriting, it was the same as the letters. He looked up, startled. But the nun was already greeting another parishioner. When he turned back again, she was gone. Summer bled into fall. Michael started attending Mass more regularly. He volunteered at the parish's food pantry, where he met Rachel, a social worker who coordinated the community outreach. She had the same calm, grounded faith that Anna once had, the kind that didn't preach, just radiated. Rachel talked about her work with veterans, about counseling men who felt forgotten. She invited him to help one evening at a shelter downtown. At first, he resisted. "I'm not exactly the poster boy for peace," he joked bitterly. But she only smiled. "Maybe that's exactly why you're needed." That night at the shelter, as he served dinner to men who looked just as broken as he once felt, he saw a reflection of himself in every tired face. And somehow, that recognition softened him. Afterward, he sat in the chapel corner while Rachel led a short prayer. Her words were simple: "Lord, teach us to find peace. Not by having less pain, but by having more of you." For the first time, Michael wept openly. Not from sorrow, but from release. Then came the storm. One night, a call woke him. His younger brother, Tom, had been in an accident, a bar fight gone wrong. The police said it was bad. At the hospital, Tom lay unconscious, hooked to machines. Michael's old anger surged back. He blamed himself for their falling out years earlier, for not calling, for letting pride and silence grow between them. He fell to his knees beside the bed. "God, why now? Why again? Haven't I lost enough?" His hands shook as he reached into his jacket. Inside, another letter, the last one, delivered that very morning. He hadn't opened it yet. He tore the envelope and read through blurred vision. The tears came hard. He took Tom's limp hand. "I forgive you, brother. And I'm sorry." Minutes later, Tom stirred a weak flutter. But enough. He wasn't gone. Michael pressed the letter to his heart. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you for not giving up on me. of. Weeks passed. Tom recovered slowly. Michael visited him every day. They talked more in those 2 weeks than in the past 10 years about their childhood. About Anna. About faith. One morning, Tom pointed to the rosary Michael carried in his pocket. "Didn't think you were still into that." "I wasn't," Michael said. "But someone reminded me." "Who?" He smiled. "A messenger from heaven." Maybe. He never told anyone about the letters. He didn't need to. The lessons had done their work, each one carving a small channel where peace could flow again. He started a small veteran support group at the parish. They called it the Restless Hearts. Every Wednesday evening, they gathered to pray, talk, and read scripture. And sometimes, Michael shared parts of the letters, not saying where they came from, only that they came from love. Peace isn't something you find, he'd tell them. It's something you let in. One late November morning, Michael stepped outside to find the porch empty for the first time in months. No envelope, no handwriting. But there, resting on the porch rail, was a blue rosary. Perfectly whole, every bead shining in the sunlight. He picked it up. And as he did, he felt a whisper deep inside, like a mother's voice brushing against the wind. He smiled, closed his eyes, and for the first time in years, prayed the full rosary from beginning to end. No voices, no letters, no visions. Only peace, quiet, deep, steady peace. When he finished, the dawn broke wide over the horizon, turning the sky gold. Michael whispered, "Every dawn is a chance to trust again." And he knew she was listening. Months later, Michael shared his story at the parish retreat. When he finished, the room was silent. He looked at the faces around him, soldiers, single mothers, teenagers, widows. Each one carried their own silent war. "If you've ever felt abandoned," he said softly, "if you've ever thought God stopped listening, he hasn't. Peace doesn't mean life stops hurting. It means you stop fighting alone." He held up the blue rosary. "These beads reminded me that every pain can become prayer if you let it." Then he smiled and added, "Now I want to hear from you.